You're listening to Pro Booth Talk, education and insights for photo booth company owners.
All right, welcome back to Pro Booth Talk. I'm Jason. With me always is Lap.
Hi, everybody.
And we also have this is a listener spotlight episode, so we have one of our listeners that we want to highlight and talk to, Coral Howe from Alaska. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
My name is Coral Howe. I live up in Alaska. I have been in the photo booth business since 2008. I started with metal enclosed photo booth. I bought a couple of them from a guy out of California, and then we started designing our own. We also have a couple of antique ones that we bought. They were that we took the guts out of the old ones and made them into digital photo booths. And we did flip books for a while. I did do the iPad booth. I guess the thing that probably makes me different than a lot of other companies is I live in a very large area geographically. I have 3 business hubs, and the closest business hub I have to where I actually live is close to 400 miles away. And
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, crazy.
And the other one, Jason's been to the other one, which is Juneau, which is not even accessible by roads. So,
Wow.
so it is a unique environment. We also deal with a very small market, and there's less than 1 million people in Alaska. So, you have, and most of them are in one of the areas, our Anchorage hub. So about not quite 50% of the population is in Anchorage. And so we have to do business down there, even though I live 400 miles from there. So, yeah, but it's been good. I mean, we've been able to shift with the market as it changes. And now we have 360s, and we're doing the roamers, and we do Spot My Photos. And I have a team of, it vacillates between 6 to 15. So
It's really incredible. So one of the reasons we wanted to do the listener spotlight to begin with was to kind of showcase some of the unique hurdles that owners have in different areas. And I think you have more unique and plentiful hurdles than anyone else.
Definitely.
So you're a perfect person to have on here. At PBX, we spoke a little bit about some of your challenges, and it sounds like you fly to a very large portion of events, and it's not like us flying over to Chicago to do a job or something. It sounds like well, let you tell us about your experiences with flights, and what do you do with like 360s? Do you load those onto planes? What's going on with that?
Yep. We have a crate my husband made that we send the 360 in, and we've taken it all the way up to Barrow. If anybody's on here and you want to take a few minutes to look at a map, Barrow is the most northernmost city in the United States. So we loaded that up. We took it up to Barrow for an event. The hard part is that it didn't make it to the event.
Oh no.
It didn't make the shipment because they had a big storm, and they were more concerned about getting things like milk. So that was more important. So what we did is I love SnapPick, so we used SnapPick, and we just set up one of our iPad booths, and that we were going to use on the 360, and we just had people dance, and it had the same sequence, and it didn't go around them, but they had fun with it. It was going slow and fast, and so that was a lot of stress, but in the long run, I guess the one thing that really stood out to me is that I had this team of people with me that we were just like looking at each other over coffee going, what are we going to do? And so we gave them the best experience that we could, and they loved it. So, and this morning I was talking to Jason. I am in the process right now of developing a remote program where I ship the booths out to the outlying communities. So right now we're working on shipping 3 different booths out. So we do a remote onboarding and training, and then we're available for them when they unpackage it and throughout the event. So so it's a little bit different. There's not a lot in between. That's the other thing. When you talk about the distance between my one hub and my other hub is there's really nothing in between except mountains and bears and animals. And so that's it. It's not like where you guys drive 400 miles and there's all these towns. There isn't towns, but I think also people that are operating in more remote and smaller markets, I think that they can appreciate the fact that we put a lot of distance on our vehicles, and it's really important that you have a solid team helping you. So that's been, for me, without my team, I would be nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all of us.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out really quickly to listeners, just highlighting also the versatility of owners juggling many balls. If you hear some additional noises today, we apologize, but Lap is on location at an event, and she's just popping away to record with us. So always something.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you joining us today, Lap.
Where are you, Lap? Where are you?
It's our peak week in October, so we're juggling events. We have events all over California. We have folks up in NorCal, San Diego, and right now I'm in Inglewood at SoFi. So it's one of the games that they're doing out here. So because we don't have enough team members, here I am.
Yeah, we have 4 in the next 2 days, which doesn't seem like much compared to you, but considering we had this major snowstorm, we weren't sure if we were going to have any. And that's just 4 in my own community. But so I love this week. I love Halloween. It's awesome.
So
I mean, it's a blessing to be busy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Our summers here are really slow, so I'm happy to be busy again as well. Where I imagine, Coral, your summers it's opposite. I imagine that's your busiest time.
No.
So, no, it's not?
No. Winter.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a surprise. So are your events weighted by tourism, or is it pretty much all locals?
We're doing more and more with tourism. That's one of the focus of one of my strategies that I kind of came up with this year, is that we're going to be doing a lot more next year with the tourism element. Tourism is continuing to rise in Alaska, and right now we're kind of not struggling, but the state is going through some ups and downs economically. So so that will increase definitely my summer markets. The hardest thing in Alaska is people that live here treasure our summers. So getting staff in the summer, it's not that I don't have staff, but they're like, I'm going fishing, So that's probably, again, one of the things that we struggle with in the summer more than anything. But our busiest season, just like everybody else, is December. And, we haul our trailers around in the snow. We, do whatever we need to do. And that's our busy time, just like everybody else. Everybody likes to party at the holidays.
Yeah, I actually have a couple staff members, because we're so slow in the summer, they go to Alaska during the summer to work tourism in Skagway. And they live there and do the tours and stuff with cruise ships. And then they come back and do photo booths here during the rest of the year.
I need to get their names, because we were, if we send stuff down there, then I can hey, can you set this up for me?
Yeah, we can definitely connect you for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I want to ask about when things like that happen, because you're in such a unique area. When things like that happen, where you're not able to deliver what was booked, what do you feel is the biggest advantage for you to be able to work with clients and for them to be understanding? Have you had any experience where clients have expectations that aren't realistic based on circumstances and things like that, challenges that you guys have to face being in Alaska? I have to ask about that. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, if they're not from Alaska,
How,
they
how often do you have clients that are not from the area and aren't understanding?
we have there's a lot of people that have moved into Alaska, and most of them live in the Anchorage area. And so they have sometimes different expectations of what needs to happen. Um, we laugh a lot up here. People up here we joke about, we're just wild and crazy and, go with the flow kind of people. And very, again, very resilient, very gritty. And sometimes we just look at people and say, it's an Alaskan thing. We don't know what else to say. I can't change the weather. I'm not in charge. A lot of times I'll say, hey, I'm praying to the same guy you are that hopefully you can fix this. But in the meantime, let's have a good time with what we have. And just being very straightforward and very authentic. And I had the blessing of having most of the people that have worked for me. I don't have anybody right now that's worked for me for less than 3 years. Most
That's
of them
amazing.
are between 8 to 10 plus.
Wow.
And they've gone through all the different ups and downs and how to fix things and how to make things happen if they don't happen. I mean, we've even had a situation where they took out their phone and did snap pick off their phone
Wow.
because
The team really does help. I mean, they are like the core of our company,
Yeah.
It's where
Yeah.
we're all really
Yeah,
blessed.
so important.
Yeah. And I think too, it's good for people to hear this because I think that, they look at people like you guys in LA and Las Vegas, and then they look at somebody like me in Alaska. And yeah, I do a lot of this stuff by myself, because I don't have the talent maybe up here that you guys have to choose from. But I feel like if I find somebody that's trainable, that's the key. You know, more than anything else, do I get the feeling that they have a thirst to learn what makes our company work and have the same attitude? Because we joke about that, we're sassy and that's just the way we are. And if you don't like that, well, don't hire us. So, we tend to be very, I can't remember where it was at PBX one time. They had somebody at one of the little courses. They said, pick three, three things that describe your market. And I said, there people were bling and glitter and glamour and, hype and all these things. And for me, it was like, hey, it's beards, which you can appreciate, Jason. You know, beer, because we have a lot of craft breweries up here. And then boots, because everybody's cash, it's like everybody's casual. And we do weddings where all the bridesmaids wear boots.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing, you're asking about summer. In Alaska, weddings are not a big deal. For the first part of my business, I spent a large portion of my advertising budget on weddings because I have a background. That was what I did. I was a planner. I worked for the university as well as on my own. And I figured out that people just don't want to spend. They'll drop $6,000 on a fishing trip, no problem, but they don't want to spend more than $15,000 on their wedding total.
Yeah, that's definitely a different demographic than we have here, or who's traveling here. I guess most of our weddings are destination weddings. Coral, from all that you've said, it sounds like there is a ridiculous amount of resilience needed to operate in your area. I don't personally think that I could own a photo booth company there. So it makes me wonder, what is the competition like? Do you have a lot of competition, or are there a lot of other people out there trying to do what you're doing?
We have people come and go. One of the things is I'm kind of the higher end photo booth company, and I have certain areas where I will, give special pricing. I have a special place in my heart for anything to do with cancer and kids. Those are my two biggies. And then, of course, we have a large military population, so we do special pricing for our military folks. But I do have competition in the Anchorage market. I wish I could say that I could embrace the um, cooperation versus competition way of looking at things. But I'm going to say this just up front. When you operate in a really small market, it's hard to embrace that unless you really trust the person. And I guess that's true anywhere, actually. But when you only have one or two competitors, you just have to figure out, okay, they do them, I do me. I'm going to do the best version of me. We might cross paths, we might have different approaches, but my approach has always been, this is my company, we do it well, this is how much it costs. It might not be what you want.
Yeah.
And it's not going to lower my standard to your budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree about the community to an extent. I mean, if someone in my community runs out of paper and needs a roll of paper, I'm not going to just watch him burn. I'll help him out with paper. But we actually recorded an episode recently that hasn't been published yet that kind of goes into, where do you draw the line on that?
Mm-hmm.
So a little teaser on that. Look forward to that coming soon because at the end of the day, we like this is paying not only our own bills, but we have employees that count on that income and the community only goes so far.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I've struggled with is because I'm in these different locations, sometimes people say, oh, well, she's up in Fairbanks, she can't handle Anchorage. Well, basically what you're saying is you're taking the money away from the people that work for me in Anchorage. So that's not true. I mean, I grew up there, so I have property there, so I think sometimes you just kind of have to stand back and if you're successful, people always are going to be, well, they're chasing you, right? So it's always hard when you're the one that people are chasing to not feel a little stressed. So, but I love what I do, and I'm not going to change how I do things for other people.
And that's a big part of it.
The competition. Yeah, I mean,
just loving what you do.
Yeah, and I love bright shiny things, and I'm the one that always does the new stuff. That's one of my fear whenever I go to PBX is I'm going to spend more money than I should because there's something new there that I want. Yeah, that's always been the way that I've done things is to always have the best to offer my people, and they don't know the difference,
They don't have anything to compare it to. That's perfect.
That's perfect.
As far as having like the best and the newest equipment or just equipment in general in those climates, like I'm curious, do you have like any mods? Do you have to modify your booths any, or is that a silly question? Like
we just have to be careful. Like you guys probably have to be careful with the heat. We have to be careful with the cold. I've actually been at events where we've wrapped blankets around printers and stuck those hot pad, the hand warmers. We'll stick those on the outside of the printer so that it'll work, and then we wrap it in like a thermal blanket. So we'll do that. But just like everyone else, our iPad, the batteries go when it's cold, the batteries will go
faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put we love the hand warmers that you stick on things. So we stick them inside the frame of the Moby booth.
Nice. I wish there were stick-on hand coolers.
Yeah.
I could use.
So, I mean, again, you just kind of figure out what's going to work,
Yeah, definitely.
And as far as things that don't work, I hear a lot from conversations with you that one of the things that rarely works is internet, which in my side of the industry, I rely pretty heavily on internet. And one of my first thoughts was when you're talking about remote places is virtual events, but that doesn't, like, you can't really do that without internet. And internet seems to be a ongoing struggle everywhere for you.
We're getting there. I mean, it's just our internet is slow, and it's interesting. A lot of the rural communities actually have better internet because they have federal funding for their internet. So it's a different situation. But in different parts of our community, the internet's better than other parts. I think that's true just about everywhere. But one of the things that, like when I look at some of the AI and the background removal and all of that, if it's slow for you guys, for me, it's like I have to. We even tell people, like, a lot of times we'll say, okay, you're not going to get this until we get it back to our studio. So just be okay with it. It's going to be a surprise. And I tell them it's going to be like Christmas. The bell on your phone will start ringing, ding, 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 and you'll get all these wonderful images.
Yeah.
But what else can you say? I mean, you can't change that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's for us, it's hit or miss. Like sometimes we have amazing internet, other times where it's just dead zone. So we work around it. I mean, the nice thing about AI background removal is some of the software is native, so you don't even need internet, which I rely on heavy, versus Wi-Fi based, internet based.
Yeah. I mean, like today, I don't have internet, so I'm using a hotspot. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you work around it. Sometimes the
Yeah.
hardest part is when it's like you say, a dead zone, and you can't even get the hotspot to work. But
Yeah.
crazy stuff, like I go to chamber on Tuesdays, and then afterwards I go to the library, and I do all my downloads from the weekend at the library where it does it in live.
Gosh.
Ah.
No, for real? That's insane.
Well,
That's
it's
insane,
just,
Coral.
but
You do what you gotta do, but that is such unique challenges. That's wild to me. I'm sorry, the internet part blows me away because getting those files to our clients is such a big thing. I can't even imagine. Coral, that's insane that you do, and you do volume over there. You do. I mean, you're like you guys do well, right? Like I know we've talked about it
yeah,
and
I
all
mean,
the challenges that you face.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
my designers, they a lot of times will go to the internet, go to the library as well. So it's free internet, and it's
Yeah.
pretty good. So we just, and they have a little coffee shop and nice couches. So and you see people in the community, and so it's not a bad way to do it. But it is a little bit different. And I guess that's another thing. If there's people that are listening to this that are in remote areas or places where the internet is a challenge, don't write that off. That's during COVID. Okay, this is a funny story. Okay, during COVID, the internet was so bad because there were so many people on the minimal amount of bandwidth that we had, right? Because there were homeschooling and there were Zooming and there were
Yeah.
so there were a whole group of us that would drive up to the front of the library, and the community library actually turned their internet, their receivers, so that we could get the internet better. And we were lined up in the parking lot, and with our laptops doing our business, and there were at least 15 of us that were there on a regular basis, and we'd like hold our
That's
coffee mugs
crazy.
up, how you doing? So it was yeah, it was crazy times, it was fun, but it worked.
Yeah, it just really goes to show like we as owners really do what we have to do to make events happen, to make I'm in the sun and I'm dying.
Where are you going, Laps?
In the sun and I'm dying, you guys. I'm sorry. It's hot. Okay.
That's all
Wait,
right.
you
I,
can come.
I
You
like
can
have to
come.
find a corner.
I've got a foot and a half of snow outside on my deck.
Oh my God. It's probably like 90 here where I'm sitting. So I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
can't. I'm gonna get a sunburn. But I think it's really amazing. I think it's really amazing. Just like we all have challenges from what we do. Yours is so unique, Coral. Like just because I work at night and like I have to get those files up because I have such a small window. So it's insane, like the challenges that you have to face with like logistics of getting boosts to where they need to go, the distance and the internet. That's so wild, and it's amazing to see. Like we talk about how successful your business is. I mean, you don't brag about it, but I know just the conversations that we've had. that you do so well, and you're so humble about it. 'Cause we keep talking about like all these major markets that do bigger business, but you do really well out there, and you have so many challenges that you face that you don't even bring up.
I mean, I feel like this is where I choose to live, and you guys have other things. You have traffic. I don't have traffic. Um, yeah, you have.
You have a 400-mile flight. Take traffic. I'll take traffic
Well,
any day.
when I do fly back and forth to these locations when I'm, especially in the winter. I have a car down in Anchorage, and so I do fly back and forth. It's only an hour flight, so that's not too bad. And we have an office down there, and so I arrive, I get off the plane, get the car, it's not as scary as you would think. Now, when I'm driving, I think the hardest part is sometimes when we'll have a equipment problem, and I have to get something down there, and I have to drive down. Like I get in my car at 5 a.m. and drive down, and then
Right.
have to be back to do an event at the other location at night. So we call it a turn and burn. We keep when you can put 800 miles on your vehicle in one day. But
Crazy.
but I mean that's cuckoo-ness. You don't do that very often, but yeah, it happens every once in a while. But I think the one thing is that we I I remind myself on a regular basis. Everyone's like everybody else. I get discouraged sometimes and wonder if I want to keep doing this. It's just, but uh, like we did an event this last week, an event for a little baby shower, and we got there and we got set up, and we couldn't get set up in the room because it was too tight, and so we set up in the kids' bedroom and put the backdrop up, and it was just this amazing family. And I've known the young woman since she was in grade school, and here I am doing her baby shower, and just the relationship that you build with people over time. And it was such a beautiful group of people. And I just kept thinking, this is what I do for a living. I get to take these incredible pictures of people enjoying each other. And I just, I think it's even more different than even a photographer, because you get to see them be goofballs and, just really having fun with each other. And that's the part that just every day I remind myself of that, because that's really, I mean, what a cool thing that we get to do.
Yes. I was thinking the same thing. I was driving in early this morning. Like, we're so lucky that we get to be there to celebrate with these families and these clients. And, a lot of times they're like milestone events, birthday parties, or 25th anniversaries. It's so awesome that we're there. We're chosen to be there, trusted to like celebrate with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of an echo.
I was gonna say, so do you feel like, because I know this is brought up a lot, like people tell me in LA, because we're LA, we're always pushing out like creative, innovative, different, like we're always ahead of the market is what we're told. Vegas is like that too. Do you feel like in Alaska, do you feel like your clients in Alaska have challenges with, do you feel like you face challenges with like bringing out new technology or new experiences that are, like innovative for the time, not even just the area? Do you feel like your clients struggle with like adapting to new concepts and things like that?
Yeah, they do. I mean, things that they can see, like if I can show them a magazine cover or I can show them the AI. One of the things I've been doing with AI is a lot of the ones that are packaged right now don't really fit my folks. So I've been having to make a lot of them my own on Night Cafe. And that helps, making it something they can relate to. But like I bought one of the mosaic walls, guys, and I haven't rented it once. And
It's a hard product to sell. Yeah.
It is.
I love it too, but we only do it a handful of times per year, maybe 4 times or so, something like that.
Yeah, I just need to get it paid for. You know? So yeah,
But it might be my favorite
yeah,
product,
sometimes
though. I love it.
that's one of the. Yeah, it's your favorite, you said?
I
It's
think
one of
so.
my
Like
favorites too.
my
Yeah.
staff love it. They love like when people walk up to the wall, everyone's just always so enamored by it.
Anticipating.
The staff get to
Yeah.
hang out and put stickers on and chat with people. It's just very laid back and casual, and
Yeah.
it's good.
I know that if I can just get one person to bite, I know that it will happen. So that's one of my big goals. In fact, I'm at the point where I'm just going to donate it to some big event or something. But
Gala or something. Yeah.
but it makes me nervous to, you don't want to donate it to a big event if it's the first time you've ever done it, and that makes me a little anxious. And I can't tell you how much I depend on people like you guys, because I am sort of the Lone Ranger up here. And I know Lap's got phone calls from me late at night when she's, I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me. And I've never seen anybody do it, so I don't know what I'm doing. And, other than the people having things set up at PBX, I mean, truthfully, without my exterior photo booth community, I would not have the courage to do a lot of the stuff that I do. I mean, I have a big thing on my computer that says "Be brave today," because that's kind of how I feel a lot of times about having to try to do new things. But yeah, without the input from you guys, I just don't know how I could do it.
Okay.
I think we all are in that same boat though. I
Yeah.
think that like when any of us is like exploring new experiences, whether it is new or not, like when I first did flip books, like just having the network of providers that we have, because we're all friends, and that's the amazing thing. Like you can reach out to someone on the East Coast, you can reach out to someone on in a whole different continent, and have that support. It's so amazing, and I agree with you. It gives us like the confidence that we normally wouldn't. I think for you being nervous about introducing the mosaic for the first time, like that's what me and Jason talk about this. Like I typically like to donate something new, because then, you're learning, you're figuring out the workflow, but because you're donating it, the expectation isn't perfection. So that's how I roll out new
Yeah.
experiences. I
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
donate it. Yeah.
And that's part of our practice too. Anytime we have a new product, whether we're familiar with it or not, it's just kind of what we do now. We always find a charity to donate it to first. That gives us the chance to do a trial run where the expectations are low because it
Showcase it.
was donated, and it
Yeah.
also gives us content. We can take photos, so it kind of lets us work out those bugs and stuff. So we always
Well,
donate to a charity the first
I
time
have
we have something new.
I have a big cancer event coming up the 9th of December. I don't know if I'm courageous enough to do it yet, but I should talk to you about it maybe. I don't know if that's a little
Yeah, we'll chat.
That is brave. December 9th is brave though. That's like busy.
Yeah. It's just because they have the 360, and then they have the roamer, and then they have a traditional photo booth, and then they so it would be one more photo experience, but I don't know if that's maybe too much in one event. I just want to make sure I do it at an event that's large enough that I get that dynamic of people putting the sticker on, and it morphing into this beautiful image. So
Yeah, and it sounds like a good event for it if you have the extra staff, because mosaics, of course, take a lot of photos. And if you already have a couple photo booths there, then it's going to be a high photo output event
from that.
anyways, especially if you have a
Yeah.
roamer. Like we always push the roamer for mosaics, because then we kind of control how many photos are taken instead of depending on people coming to us. Of course, a roamer gets
That's
way
so
more photos than a
smart.
standalone. And
That's
I
so
think that's
smart.
a
I
perfect
hadn't
event
even
to try
thought
it out.
about that. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, because I was just like, yeah, I need to see. That's why I'm here, to learn from you guys. Because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. I mean, you see
Yeah.
it stagnant at a conference, and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I make this work in my market? And yeah, so these are, thank you. I want to get this thing paid for. It was expensive,
It was expensive.
So yeah, and I love it, but yeah, and I'd like to put in, like for me, we finally, I think a turning point for me in the last few years too was introducing the Every booths, um, because everything I had up to kind of COVID was more that organic, rustic feel. We even our mirror booth, the frame we put on it is more of a rustic feel. And I was trying to do the white, modern, sleek like you guys, and just not us. It's just not us,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah,
the
every
Every
market's
booth, what?
different. Yeah.
Yeah, the Every booths.
Yeah, yeah. Every booth is so unique, but I love Coral that you keep bringing up the fact that you come from a unique, your clientele is unique from everybody else. I love that you talk about, like in LA, sleek, white, modern. It works for my branding out here, but in Alaska, it's not your
Mm-mm.
target market. Like, yeah. And I love that you bring that up because I know sometimes everybody's on this chase to like follow like what's trending or what's popular in our industry. And I love that you know who your market is. I love that you
Recognize
know
it.
who your clientele is. Yes. And that's a big part. Like you can sell all the most amazing photo booth experiences, but if your clientele, if that's not that type of clientele, you're not going to be able to sell it. So I love that you keep bringing that up and you bring it up subtly because I know you don't think twice about it. But a lot of people don't understand their market.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how many people don't take the time to really look. Like we live in a state where um a lot of the money is tied up in the trades, and we're rough folks. And so like I joked about people who drop $6,000 on a fishing trip. That's for real.
You're not kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for real. And they I have guys like I said, I haven't had power for 3 days. Those linemen that are out there, they're out in a foot and a half of snow, climbing up on these poles, trying to figure out how the hell to get us power. They're heroes, and we live in this crazy place. And I get to do their holiday party. And let me tell you, when they party hard because they're hardworking guys, man. And
Yeah.
and these guys are making, uh, Lap, you and I've talked about it before. I mean, some of these tradesmen are making 100 plus a year, easy. And so for people to kind of brush them off as, oh, I don't do those kind of people, it's like, I'll take them all day long because they appreciate hard work and they appreciate quality. And believe it or not, I find them to be one of the most receptive groups of people, as opposed to people that are trying to be something. They don't have to worry about it. They know who they are. And so I would strongly suggest anybody that lives in an area that's maybe a little bit more rough and tumble, stop and think, who are the people that are paying the bills in our community? Are they the construction workers? Are they the ranchers? Are they the miners? Who are they? And it's not as easy to distinguish that, I think, in large markets like yours, maybe, but it certainly is in mine. Our oil workers, man, they work their tails off, and I want to be there for them when they finally let their hair down.
Yeah, I love that. So while you were talking, I was thinking about what you were mentioning about going to these all these like remote locations. What would you say? Like, do you have like one crazy event with like one random crazy location that comes to mind, or are your events pretty much all?
No, they're not. I mean, we mainly do them in hotels like everybody else. I mean,
No igloos.
we don't live in igloos, I mean, I'm sure you can see I've got multiple computers, the lights are on for a while. But I think the thing is that we've done, like I've done several in airplane hangars, which, but yeah, like, uh, I've gone to remote locations, but then we've like done it at a hotel or we've done it at a school. So the location itself isn't that. We did one on a glacier, now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, there you go. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
You're like, we don't do anything weird. I mean, your schools, your glaciers, you're like, where are you doing weddings?
How do you plan to do an event on a glacier? Like,
You have battery pack, and you load it up in a little plane, and up you go.
that's wild.
You know? It's but I mean, these people want something different. Alaskans actually are. I mean, as much as, yes, it's hard sometimes to sell them on something. It's mainly the cost. We're super frugal people because everything costs a lot of money up here. So just to get stuff here costs a lot of money. So yeah, it's like I really have to be a salesperson. But I mean, our average booth is 1,600.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's our average.
Yeah.
And it has been since day one. That's what I started charging in 2008.
For anybody out there that says that my market cannot justify a high cost, listen to Coral. She's in Alaska. There's no way, if you can get that kind of pricing in Alaska, not that you should push for specific pricing, but I think sales is a big part. I mean, you mentioned that, you really have to sell the experience. I think that a lot of us owners really have to get on board with the sales process, because
I mean, like, for example, one of my gals that's been with me forever and ever and ever is my manager down in Anchorage. We tried to put her in sales, and it's just not her thing, and so we had to step back, and I had to go back in and do it, and it's okay. She felt really bad. I'm like, don't feel bad. It's not everybody's thing. So you have to figure out what sales means to you too. And I think that's the other thing is, to be a good salesperson, you have to listen. That's why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth.
I love that. But that's very true. You don't have to be a pushy salesperson. I mean, like the old fashioned sales process was qualifying. So asking all the questions and getting answers to everything, not really talking people's ears off. Yeah.
And like you already pointed out, like knowing your clientele and your demographic, I think a lot of times when people say, I can't charge that much in my area, like to preface, like if you charge less and that's your business model, that's fine. I'm specifically referring to the people that are upset because they can't charge more. And I always like to point out that it's not your demographic or your geographics, it's your demographic. You're just selling to the wrong people. And I wish I could remember who said this in one of our groups so I could credit them. But at one point, someone mentioned, I bet everyone in your community has an iPhone. iPhone doesn't discount their prices depending on the geographic. People in Alaska, people in Las Vegas, LA, Oklahoma, wherever you're at, people have the iPhone or the Android, and they're paying the same price that we are. So that demographic exists. You just have to find it and know how to market to it.
Yeah, and I think you have to know, you have to in your heart know who you're going to discount for or special price for. And then if you have that in your verbiage, then when somebody asks you for a discount, you can say, this is who I discount for, and this is why. And we don't give special pricing except to those groups. And be very, very steadfast in that. And if you know that in your heart, you know why you're giving those people a special price, and you can express that openly to other people, then people pretty much stop. And the other thing I do is I just tell people I've got staff that have worked for me for over 10 years, and I have to pay them their worth. And if there are people that are willing to not pay people very much to do photo booths. And I think that's the thing you have to do too, is stop and think, okay, if I had to go out and do this myself, which all of us still do events. So, right. How much time am I spending? What is my time worth? And I'm asking someone to give up their Saturday away from their family, away from their kids, away from what other fun things they would want to do. and I have to pay them accordingly. And that comes out in the bottom line. So that's another thing too, is trying to explain to people that they need to do the math too. I can't even tell you how many people I talk to them and I'm just like, do the math, man. If you're only charging $300 for your event, if that's what you choose to do, that's fine. But I want to make sure that I'm making myself feel like I'm worthy.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a lot of experience here. I should get paid for it. So, I think, but I think also if you don't know a lot, maybe you shouldn't be charging a lot, until you
Exactly.
figure it out,
Yeah,
Don't go
know your worth
charging
goes both ways.
$1,600 if you, yeah.
People
if
always
you-
say know
if
your
you
worth,
just-
trying to tell people to charge more, but sometimes, no, you should probably be charging less.
You shouldn't be. Yeah. Like when your setup is not right, your workflow, and you can't command the dollars that in your mind you might want. You have to reassess like how you're running your business.
and I think that's a relatively new thing. That's a TikTok mentality. um, they're super cool and they're super hip and they should be making all this money, which is great. It's like, yeah, but I can come over and make 3 or 4 adjustments to your machine and make your pictures look amazing. Oh, well, yeah, it's that old adage. It only took you 5 minutes to make that adjustment. And I said, yeah, well, it took me 16 years to figure out where to go to make it, So, yeah, it's, yeah, that's, again, it's that fine line between being confident and being cocky.
So what do you feel like, Coral, what do you feel like attribute to your success and like long time running? Like what do you feel has been the biggest um part of you being able to, run photo booths since you said 2008, right? That's a long time. Like what do you feel contributes to your success and your growth over the years?
Um, I don't want to go back to the university. Um, I think some of it is just I'm a very creative person, um, and I think in a regular 9 to 5, I feel pretty much squished, and that scares me. I don't want to be back in that environment. Every time I think about it, I'm like, and I was I was at the University of Alaska, so I loved my job, but right in the middle of bureaucracy. And I like to be able to make my own choices. And we are doing some shifting. I mean, we're trying to, as my husband and I are getting older, we are looking more at permanent installs. We're going to we're just looking at that business model right now. But I think more than anything, I think it's just what we talked about before. It's just such a cool thing to do for work. It's just it makes you feel
Fun.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes you feel good. I mean, I sometimes I have to ask myself, when I get like caught up in all the stress and everything else, and I have to step back and say, "Whoa, girlfriend, look what you get to do. Look what you get to do every day."
Yeah, that's really incredible.
Instead of, I mean, and I have to remind myself what it was like when I was at the university. And yes, I loved my job there, but the bureaucracy and the paperwork and the politics and all that stuff that, I don't have to deal with that. And I can fire a client too if I don't like them, and I do that. Sometimes I'll just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're not available."
Yeah.
Because that is too much
And
stress.
it's okay. Yeah, and it's okay too. I feel like a lot of owners don't feel like they can choose who their clients are, and you actually can. You can choose who you want to work with, who you don't want to work with. It does go both ways. So
Yeah.
I do the same on my end.
Yeah. And people sometimes are surprised even in a small market that I'll do that. But when my designers when I tell them that we're doing it for somebody and I hear them groan, and I depend on them so much. I mean, I can do all that stuff. I know how to do it, but it's not where I choose to spend my time. And they mean so much to me. And if it's painful for them to work with people year after year, it's not worth it. You know, it they're too important. I have to take care of them. So their
Yeah.
mental health. Yeah. So
Teams are the heart of our company. So when I think all of us, when we speak about like our team members and like our staffing, I mean, they are the heart and soul of our company. They're the face of the company, actually. And also they're on site. They're what represent us. So it's a huge thing. I approach my business the same.
yeah,
Like
and
I want my team happy.
and I can get kind of fiery, because I mean I do have red hair. I used to. It's getting gray now, but a lot of the people that work for me are like my husband. They're more like an even keel kind of a thing. And I think that's the other thing is surrounding yourself with people that lift you up and complement your style instead of hiring people that you're going to be button heads all the time. And um, I think that that's important too, is just really taking a good look at yourself. You're talking about knowing your market. I think it's important that people look at themselves. I mean, I can be batshit crazy. Um, and my staff knows it and they love that about me, even though it seems crazy that they would love that about me, but they'll say, yeah, she's wacko. But I think that part of just the fact that I'm passionate inspires them sometimes. And I do really try to focus on what their needs are. Like if they have things with their kids or their family or, personal issues, that's it. I mean, I have to take care of them, so.
Right. So we are about at an hour, so we're going to start wrapping up. But before we do, I mean, we could hear these stories all day if we don't pull the plug at some point. But is there anything that you haven't had the chance to mention? Any advice, tips, or episodes that we haven't covered yet that you would like to hear us discuss? Anything like that? Anything at all that you want to close with? I guess.
You guys have been doing just such a great job, and I meant to say that right in the beginning because I look up to both of you. I mean, Jason, I was competing against him. Of course, he won that one year. PBX.
Are we talking about the team award season? I think
Yeah,
we're all in competition, you guys. We're all contenders.
Yeah, the booth
We're
master,
all
best photo
contenders.
booth team.
sure, but I think I think there's a lot of need right now to dispel the image that people can get into this business and make a lot of money really quickly. And I don't know how we address that, because and again, you can't tell people to not charge what they want to charge, but the whole thing of pulling the market down with lower end stuff, that makes me anxious a little bit. But I love, somebody posted this years ago, you go down the bread aisle, it's all bread. So you can buy the white stuff that's not very good for you and is super cheap, or you can go up to the deli and buy the artisan bread and it tastes amazing, but you can't buy that every day if you have little ones. I guess it's, how do we as an industry not lose sight of what we do and not just be focused on the monetary gain? And I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm bringing back in some of my old booths, because people laughed at me years ago. You don't want one of those. and I didn't want to step on photographers' toes. So I didn't do the open booths for a long time. They were the last thing I brought on, believe it or not.
Oh,
The
wow.
absolute last thing I brought on was the open booth with the backdrops, because I felt like, no, that's my photographers. That's what my photographers do. I don't do that, and so we brought that on because that basically they started saying they were photo booths, and I'm like, okay, gloves off. But yeah, but I think that's something is there's a lot of push from some of the suppliers when you look at their marketing and what they're pushing, and it's I just feel bad. I feel bad for these people that jump in and they think they're going to make all this money, and you can make good money, but it's a business. It's not a hobby, and
A lot of hard work.
it's a lot of hard work. I mean, you guys, we all work our butts off, and constantly learning and teaching ourselves and taking the classes and going online and listening to what other people say and surrounding yourself with people that you can that will mentor you, because and tell you also things like don't get sucked into this. You have a family to take care of. You got to spend some of the time with your family on the weekend too. I mean, all those kinds of things that, yeah, that's what makes me the most nervous. Is I want the industry. I want to be proud of my industry.
Right. I think the push for education the last few years is going to help our industry a lot, because I don't think people want to charge a little bit. I think people just need to be empowered to be able to charge what they're worth, because that was my struggle too. So education, I think I'm seeing a lot in our industry, and hopefully that does help us move the industry in that direction.
We're going to go ahead and wrap on here. We
Thank you,
have
Coral.
thoroughly enjoyed listening to the stories of Alaska, and I am so thankful for Las Vegas.
Yep, and I will be in touch with you guys here in the next few months. We'll have to go out and have a drink.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck with your event, Lap.
Good
you,
luck,
guys.
Lap.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey.
To keep the conversation going, join our Facebook group, Pro Booth Talk Community. If you enjoyed this podcast, consider showing your support by subscribing, liking, reviewing, or sharing this topic with someone in the industry.